Episode 312 of the TV Dudes, recorded December 15th, 2020. Year-end Potluck. In the next 2 weeks, we'll be presenting our annual Best of TV episodes. But this week, it's time for one last look at shows we want to talk about again, or shows we haven't talked about yet. It's a TV potluck, and Grant is joining us.
Hey, everyone.
We're even the stretch and bounds of what we cover, because Kyle is going to talk about Masterclass.
Yeah, but I'm not like trying to do a paid advertisement for Masterclass or anything. I got a gifted subscription. It's about to expire, so I'm having that dilemma. Do I renew? And I'm like, it's actually kind of more like a TV subscription service than really an online class. We'll discuss.
Randy brought the Expanse Season 4 from Prime. Les is bringing the Exorcist from Hulu. And Grant brought us some more helpings of our favorite Star Trek Discovery on CBS All Access. But before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And I'm Grant?
And we're the TV Dudes.
Question mark?
No, you're Grant and you're a TV Dude. It's not even a question.
Oh, yes.
It's a thing we know.
Who wrote the question mark at the end of Grant's cue card?
He will say anything you put on those cue cards.
Yeah, if the TV Dudes were like Green Lanterns, you're like what are the OA people?
The Guardians.
Guardians.
Yeah, you're like one of those guys.
I'm a simpleton.
Grant that.
I'm excited to be back, guys.
So yeah, we had one more week. There was nothing like super cool coming on TV, so we figured we'd just kind of catch up on some stuff, talk about what we were watching, and we're gonna do that. Before we do that, though, it is time, as always, it's time this time for the last Power Rankings of 2020.
Power Rankings.
Guys, I've been on the internet, and yeah, coming to the end of the year, there's a lot of lasts. All right, getting to the last of everything, getting to the last of these rankings here over there on IMDb. I can't even really say Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes this week because normally what we do is we add up all the rankings from the different sites. We get this 400-point score, and then we get this like definitive list of everything we've watched for the year. We are now up to 158 shows for the year. So that's probably what we're going to end out at because we don't have any more episodes to add new shows. 158, that's a pretty good number.
That's a lot of
pretty good mountain to climb.
That's a lot of television.
Ooh. I wonder how many of these are like, oh no, I can't do more than 2 episodes. Well, I guess I did a few episodes of Bad Dogs. And that was
Big Dogs.
Cool.
The Bad Dogs.
Big Dogs.
Freudian slip there.
But no, this definitely feels like the bottom of the barrel because one of the anomalies we've had with how we're doing the list, which is something that we're going to be kind of tweaking in 2021. But yeah, a lot of these things just don't get ranked. Like nobody has ranked marble races over on YouTube on any of the platforms. And I think it's fine entertainment, people. Like it should not be 158 on the list.
It's also ironic that nobody's ranking a competitive marble show. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like the only sport we have.
But what's funny is I found that there was a little flirting with one of my shows from earlier in the year. Remember when we talked about Desert Flippers?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. It's that reality TV show of the people in Southern California who renovate houses. It seemed kind of like a gag, but they actually like retweeted us and engaged with us on social media a little bit.
Didn't you inadvertently compare their show to another house flipping show when they're like?
But that's the faux pas. We don't mention that show from Waco that people often compare them to. But the thumbnail for that episode was a piece of toilet paper, ironically, and they were like dead last on our list for most of the year. So I was like, kind of wish I wouldn't have even tweeted them because we didn't really give them any good publicity. It doesn't sound like they're coming back on the air. This isn't helping either, but all the shows last week we kind of have some connection to, and they all just got destroyed by the power rankings. So there's the holiday movies that made us. Les, you did that interview. You also did the other interview for Nate, a one-man show.
You did. You did an interview for that?
We had
the producer, same guy that did holiday, all the movies that made us produces that.
That Nate special.
That's right. And then the other show we talked about was Megalobox, which was a pitch in from a Patreon. And none of these shows had all of the rankings. And for Megalobox and holiday movies that made us, they just have IMDb rankings.
No, I think holiday movies is probably because it's fairly new.
Well, I looked up the toys that made us and movies that made us, and I couldn't find either of those on Metacritic, but they do have Rotten Tomatoes pages, and these have Rotten Tomatoes pages. They just nobody's ranked them yet. So
yeah, I don't know if I believe the problem is that the internet doesn't like a hot take.
Well, but here's all the stuff that's down here. It's to tell the truth, press your luck, don't ultimate tag, the 30 Rock special, Big Dogs, but like a lot of game shows and a lot of variety stuff.
I was gonna say it looked like game shows and anime didn't always make the list. Like those are the ones that didn't seem to have. And I looked at the insufficient list this time, and I was like, oh yeah, it's all the game shows, it's some of the reality shows, not all of them. And it's anime, and then Big Dogs, which is a class all of its own.
Yeah. But no, I do think because the only place that's been consistent throughout has been IMDb, I think before the end of the year, I do just want to create an IMDb list and just get kind of something that is a little more fair to Letterkenny.
I like this idea. Yeah. Just the IMDb list. That's a good idea. Grant, you really missed out on not being here for the Patreon episode, so you could talk about anime and the really terrible TV show Big Dogs over on Prime.
I don't like any of what you're saying. I don't want to watch any anime ever. And Big Dogs just already sounds like it's
just
not
the opening couple of minutes of Big Dogs. It's just an ASMR experience.
You should go spend 5 minutes watching Big Dogs so you can see what our patrons put us through.
I will say this. The last time I was on here, you guys had put a sell on me that I should check out this show, Ted Lasso.
Yes.
And since then, not only did I watch it and found it absolutely delightful, but it seems like the rest of the entire internet also listened to you guys and found it and have been talking about how wonderful that show is. And you guys are dead on. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it, because otherwise we couldn't be friends anymore.
It's good to hear. Anytime I hear somebody mention it on a podcast, when they're like, "What are you watching?" It's like, "Have you heard of this Ted Lasso?" I'm always like, my heart just gets a little bigger.
I won't take the blame for killing Desert Flippers, but I will definitely take all credit for the internet discovering Ted Lasso. We should get some swag.
Good on you, Les.
I think the TV dude should get some swag out of this, or I don't know. When it's safe to visit people, Jason Sudeikis could drop by.
Yeah, for sure.
Each of our homes, just to give us some good advice, like a pep talk.
I want a Diamond Dogs jacket. So bad.
Diamond Dogs.
Yes.
Oh, that show.
All right. Well, thank you for the power rankings, Kyle. And it sounds like maybe you will have one last one for the year. If you're going to do the IMDb only, maybe we'll debut that in our best of episodes.
Yeah, not sure how I want to do that yet, but we'll figure something out.
All right, just for all though, The Last Dance was just like the powerhouse #1 show of the year.
Yeah,
dude, it was fucking tight. Did you guys watch that?
I have not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not like all that into basketball, and I was just like, I can't stop watching this. It's just like how I felt when I was like, I'm not into nuclear meltdowns, but I'm loving Chernobyl.
Yeah. No, the documentary did something that I haven't really seen before, where you show like so-and-so and it has their name, Chicago Bulls this year. And then it's like, oh, they had beef with Jordan, And then the next episode that changes and it's like, oh, and this year to this year, he was on another team. And it's almost like characters in Game of Thrones, like switching houses and like now this person's a bad guy.
And every time the title sequence came up with the music and the I was like, oh, fuck. I have such a rush of energy right now. I could go pretend to play basketball myself outside. Just so intense.
So Just a reminder that you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdodes. Throw us $1 an episode. In exchange, you get exclusive bonus content, and we get to pay for our hosting costs, our streaming services, that kind of thing. This week, we were supposed to talk about The Thing, but here's the thing. Kyle still hasn't had time to watch it. So instead, we're going to talk about all that metric ton of like Marvel and Star Wars news that dropped this week on the Patreon.
Yeah, maybe I can join you.
It'd be awesome.
Well,
Yes,
also-
yes, please.
We have the $20 showrunner level, which I don't believe we have any at the moment. But if you want to throw a couple shows in the mix for us to talk about, you can get on the showrunner level, make suggestions in the messages. We will watch whatever anime you put in front of us, and we
They
know
don't
that's
have
probably
to be
what's gonna happen.
anime. I can't stress
It does
that.
not have to.
enough.
No,
We would
does not
prefer
have to.
it. Also, if you just have good show recommendations, you don't have to pay us to watch shows, but if they're bad, we're not going to watch it unless you pay us.
It's true. It's true. We're not going to punish ourselves unless there's money in it.
So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
was that? What was that site again? Patreon.com/.
Patreon.com/TV dudes.
Oh, okay. Patreon.com/TV dudes.
See, Grant's been doing this over on Discovery. He knows how to push the Patreon links. So that does, before we get to our old business, Grant, you have not been on for a little while, and I'm learning from you talking through our power rankings, like what you've been watching. So what have you watched this year? You watched Ted Lasso. You watched you watched The Dance, not The Dance. What's it called?
Last Dance.
The Last Dance, not Just Dance.
Just Dance.
Yeah, peep on the list.
2020.
What anything else
what's
on here?
What have you watched this year that you've been into?
Man, there's a reason I had to bow out of TV dudes, and it's because I stopped watching TV. I couldn't keep up for a while when I was back on here. I was like, I don't ever have time, or I'm like just unfocused with it. But I did see The Last Dance. I saw Rick and Morty and Queen's Gambit. I think occasionally I'll see like a Netflix show pop on, and I'll look around and be like, do I have time? Let's do this. And so I'll watch it. But
What do you think about Queen's Gambit? Were you as good as everybody says it was? Like,
I thought it was a lot of fun. I think that from what I saw of complaints, it's people projecting and wanting something else from a show than what it is. But from what it was, I thought it was awesome.
I just want season 2 to be about Cones of Dunshire.
Did you see the meme of her playing chess with Chewbacca on the Falcon? Or
Oh,
whatever
no,
that
that's
game is?
great.
I saw a great post of it was her with, I don't remember what the actor's name is. Is it Melling? Henry Melling, maybe? Dudley Dursley. And it was like, I think this show has the best love scene between a person with their eyes the closest together and the person with the eyes the furthest apart. And I was like, oh, that's true.
Why is
Looking
there
at their
not an Emmy
side-by-side
category for
pictures.
that?
I was like, good on them.
What else? Anything else that jumps out at you this year?
I mean, no, I watched Ted Lasso, and I feel like I kind of probably hit the list. The great on there. I saw that one, and it was.
Yeah.
It was awesome. So happy there's a season 2.
Did you get a chance to catch Dave?
Man, I watched the first episode, and it seems like something I should watch more of.
Yeah,
But
it picks up as it goes on,
quite
for
good.
sure.
Oh yeah, by about episode 5, you're like, oh, I see what it's doing now, and it kills the ending.
Did you watch Woke?
I make
That's
the
what I'm
mistake
looking for.
sometimes of watching premiere of shows with my wife, and she'll not be really watching, but we'll do the "this is stupid" commentary, which makes me go, okay, I can't watch this, or I need to watch it without you around. Then I just kind of forget and I move on. So that's
right.
kind of where I'm at with that.
Okay, so let's talk about let's jump into our old business, which I'm going to start off with. Since the Expanse season 5 is hitting as this recording goes out, it'll be live today. I wanted to catch up before that came out, and I had seen, I guess, about 3 episodes of season 4, and I went back to watch season 4 and jumped in at episode 3 or 4, and I was like, I don't know who these characters are. I don't know what the plot is. I don't know what the hell is going on. And I was like, maybe this show is too complicated. Maybe I don't like it as much as I thought I did. But then I went and after someone shamed me for being too dumb to watch TV, which that's fair, I went and watched a recap of seasons 1 through 3 on YouTube, like a little 10-minute recap, and then I jumped into 4 and binged the whole thing in a day. And I think that is the way to watch The Expanse, because this is a like super political, hardcore space show. Like I really think it takes a lot of devotion and energy and attention, which I don't have a lot of for shows like you can't just sit and watch it and do other stuff. You have to like full pay on attention. But if you do that, you're rewarded with like really deep characters and story arcs. And I thought season 4 was just excellent. They're getting into sort of there's an election where the sort of president of Earth's of the United Nations is maybe going to be taken down by someone who's a younger upstart. And meanwhile, she's like, I don't have time for this politics bullshit. I'm trying to keep a war from starting. And they're exploring these alien worlds, and she's trying to keep a lid on all that. And our team, Holden and his team, have gone through this gate to the other side where there's a camp that the Belters, the sort of the rough guys from the Belt have set up a camp against the rules, and the Earth has sent people through, and there's sort of a war going on in there as the people who the Earth sent, they have the legal right to be there, but the Belters are the ones who made the risk and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of like infighting and that kind of stuff going on. It's really good. It reminds me of what I liked about, say, Babylon 5 with the much stronger writing and much stronger special effects, all that kind of stuff.
Man, I tried to watch that show a couple different times, and I find that the people that love that show, you know, those certain shows where someone's like a zealot and they're always trying to put a hard sell on you. But you've given it a shot a couple times, and you're like, dude, it's for you, but it ain't for everyone.
Yeah, if someone were to tell me I tried to watch The Expanse and it's too much work, I'd be like, yeah, that's totally fair. It is. It feels like work, but I loved it. When I sat down and watched it, I was like, am I watching this because I like it, or am I watching this because I feel like I should like it? And by the end of it, I really did love the season. I was glad I watched it. But it definitely is not one of those where I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to watch The Expanse. It doesn't have that pop sensibility of something like The Mandalorian or even Discovery, which I think they both managed to be smart sci-fi, but also crowd pleasers. The Expanse is more for the sci-fi nerds who read sci-fi books, which I used to be when I read books.
I mean, it's paced out slow like a book.
Yeah, it is.
I just don't understand. I'm like, you guys are in space. Why are you making this seem boring? And just the time they want to take with it. How do you not have better models of other television shows that are kind of tackling similar things? Like look at how Game of Thrones balances a lot of heavy material and political intrigue and keeps it so engaging that people can't wait for each scene. Whereas
that didn't work out so great though for Game of Thrones.
Well, I mean
they could have done that better at the end.
It still did, I think. The last season, everyone was watching, even if they were pissed.
Is it just a lack of sex position in space? How much flaccid penis is there in Expanse, Randy?
That may be where there's not enough flaccid penis. Yeah.
What is
more flaccid penis?
Percentage-wise, 50-50 or character versus plot? Like, which is better? Better characters, better plot?
Man, the thing is, I actually really like all the characters and I like the story, but if I were to say what the strength of it is, I think it's plot driven. I think it's the questions of like their version of alien intelligence is different than what you usually see on TV, and the notion of sort of the future politics of space, I think, is interesting in this. But I can totally see why anyone would not be into the show. In fact, I think it's probably more niche than most. And of course, Amazon Prime has a tendency to do boring anyway. So I wonder how much it was them.
I heard it was pretty divergent from the books as well, though.
No, that I don't know. I've actually only read the first book, and I gather that they did change up some stuff, and that's just natural when you're doing adaptations, I think. But I don't know. I'm really digging it. I definitely thought season 4 was exceptional TV. I'm excited to watch season 5, but I have learned my lesson, which is you got to binge the whole season. You can't watch this week to week, or you will have no idea what the fuck is going on.
You're so forgiving. You give things a lot of chances, and you will try different methods of figuring out how to make something work.
Damn it, there's a good story in here somewhere, and I will crack this nut.
if it's worth it, because in general, I have been rewarded when I wait for stuff like this. Like, I didn't love Stumptown at first, and I fell in love with it by the end. So I feel like, and you want to
just in time for them to take it out and back and shoot it,
right? Yeah, but I didn't give.
That's kind of like me in SWAT. Like I didn't love SWAT at first until they held those machine guns at my head for about 5 or 6 episodes, and now I watch all the time.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone else reference the show SWAT.
Well, it's a Sean Ryan series. It's got a pedigree.
Oh yeah, you and Sean Ryan, who I follow on Twitter. I think you're the one who ever referenced it.
You were going to talk about The Exorcist, which you just rewatched. This is a show from a couple of years back.
Yeah. So when we sent around an email about Grab Bag TV like a week ago, I was like, man, I don't even know what I've been watching, and I didn't really think about it, and it just kind of continued on. And then when we sent it around again of like, okay, what have we been watching? Random potluck. I have recently rewatched all of The Exorcist, which is just 2 seasons. It aired on Fox 2016 to 2018. It is in the universe of the movie. Like it is that The Exorcist. And I'm a sucker for possession stuff. I was wanting to watch something ghost story-ish, and I had seen this show before, and it's on Hulu, and just threw it on. And there's something... I keep going back and forth in 2020 of being able to watch new stuff and having weeks where I'm just like, no new characters or stories. Like I just want to see stuff I'm familiar with and just zone out a little bit. And so this was great for that. It's also surprisingly good. Like the thing, like when people first watch Sleepy Hollow on Fox, and then like in the first season of that, it eventually fell off, but in the first season of it, people were like, holy crap, this has no reason to be good, and it's just amazing. The Exorcist, like everybody expected, oh, you guys shelled out a ton of money for the legit name of the William Peter Blatty The Exorcist, and then this is just going to shit the bed. And it's the first season is Ben Daniels is playing Father Marcus Keene, and he's an exorcist of the Catholic Church that the church, he's a rogue exorcist the church is about done with. And then there's this new father, Thomas Ortega, who's not an exorcist, but he's like a big up and comer in the church. And there's a whole conspiracy against the Catholic Church where they're trying to get the Pope to visit so that they can make an assassination attempt. And like, so there's a whole group trying to pull that off in the background. Alan Ruck is in it. Cameron from Ferris Bueller. He plays the husband and father to the girl that gets possessed. Gina Davis is the mother.
Yeah.
And the kids are great. The possession stuff is great. It all fits in the movie. It's really well done, in my opinion. The second season, when you move in, like when you move into it, I remembered like, oh yeah, that's right. This was really disappointing that it doesn't continue straight on. But like I can't stay mad at it because the second season has John Cho as the male lead, and he's the father of that you go to an island, and he's this foster father of like 8 kids or something in a huge house on this island, and like one of the kids is Negasonic Teenage Warhead from
okay.
Deadpool, Brianna Hildebrand.
Nice.
And like she's in it, the second, and so even though it's completely different, the second season is great, carries forward the same 2 priests. It does work on the conspiracy thing in the background a little bit more, but that falls back a little bit. And then where they leave it at the end of the second season, you can tell that they were definitely planning to leave a set of 2 characters ready to go out on the road and be exorcists. Like this was totally going to turn into like kung fu exorcist roaming around saving people, and it didn't go.
Les, how would you compare this? Does it have anything in common with Evil, which I feel like was a good take on exorcism in the church and that kind of stuff?
This is straight up more horror than Evil.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it not just in the it's like, well, that this is Fox and that's CBS, but this is going for horror in a Exorcist movie kind of way. Where
And is it real serialized?
yes, yeah, it is very much like you're watching like this story unfold, like the story of this family's possession unfold, and there's some cool twists. I think it's neat that it is in the universe, and so there's some passing references. Like if you're a nerd, I really like William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist. That movie scared the shit out of me when I first saw it. Even when they re-released it into theaters a few years ago, it scared the crap out of me to finally see it in the theater. But they make reference to, I think it's Pazuzu, who's the demon in The Exorcist. So like it is very much in the same universe, and that's cool. Even I'm a sucker for tangential shared universe.
A lot of what was scary is what they could, a lot of the horror elements that they can show in an R-rated movie.
Mm-hmm.
I find that, like, Fox has often tried to capture a lot of this vibe, but like, what was that show? The Killing. They did some other show that was like
But The Killing was AMC, wasn't it?
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
No,
pretty
okay,
sure.
not The Killing. What was the one with Kevin Bacon?
The Following.
The Following?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
The Following, yeah.
The Following. Wasn't there another one that the dude who made Seven pushed on there, and there was like the
that
sorority
probably was.
where all the sorority girls were murdered or getting murdered?
Yeah, Scream Queens.
Yeah, and I just felt like I don't know. I watched a little bits of each of them, and I'm like, I don't know. It never captured fear for me.
To me, this show feels like it's aiming more at straight horror and not any kind of like. There's no Ryan Murphy, like wink at anything.
Right. Scream Queens was definitely a dark comedy, if anything. Yeah.
And so I do like that they don't. The second season is a little more like you can definitely see where they were trying to leave it in a more of like a Lethal Weapon Exorcist spot that didn't get picked up, but I really like that both of these just feel like 2 season long possession stories about 2 different families, and like both of them are different in various ways. Like the shit that's screwing with the kids in the second one is creepy. I was fairly impressed. They do some nice effects. They for like you said, for the lack of being able to do some of the straight up most blasphemous shit from the movie. Right,
because there was that other show that was on Showtime, was it? Outcast?
Yes.
Cinemax.
And that one, Cinemax?
Yeah.
And that one
I
was
watched
able
that
to go like and explore those, and I was like, oh man, this is fucked up. This is actually really intense.
The best thing about that show is every episode was like half an exorcism show and half, no, this guy's literally beating kids, so he's got like CPS on his ass, and it's like, why are you punching children halfway to death?
Yeah.
It was like, oh wow, I never thought you could make a show out of that.
Yeah, this is I know this is just, it felt like a classic. I would go see this as a horror movie. If this had been a sequel to The Exorcist, it would have been better than any of the sequels to The Exorcist.
Right.
All right, Kyle, it's time. Tell us about Masterclass.
Ta-da. Actually, I wish I could knew their chime.
Don't we need that little like violin
chime.
intro?
Oh, is that what it is, the violin?
Has there been a masterclass on how we can get sponsorships and paid by Masterclass?
I would like to start, Kyle, by thanking you, because before this, the Expanse was getting those pretentious thing we talked about, but I guarantee Masterclass is getting more pretentious than Expanse.
I didn't even want you to mention it at the top of the show. That's kind of why I awkwardly interrupted and then fumbled. I
don't know what you're talking about, Kyle.
Nobody needs to sell this. Like, you're going to get 50 ads on your Instagram. Like, if you play this podcast too loud around your listening device, You're probably going to get targeted ads for the next month, and for
Oh,
that,
we definitely are.
I do apologize.
I'm already getting Masterclass ads, and I assume it's because I know you.
It's like Bloody
That-
Mary. Like if you say
I said it too
Masterclass
loud.
5 times into your laptop.
Yes, that's right. Tony Todd will show up and teach you about how to murder people with
Yes.
a hook.
I feel like we could riff on this idea for the whole time that I was going to talk about Masterclass.
No, but you should talk about Masterclass.
So it's pretty obvious they didn't give me anything free. None of us got we're not big enough to get anything like that. Plus, it's not the type they're doing fine. They're doing Instagram ads. People are buying this thing. It's very popular.
They got that Instagram ad money.
Yeah.
This is not sponsored content.
I got this as a gift last year for Christmas, and it was a buy one, get one. So I got to give the other membership to a friend of mine, and I didn't quite know what to expect, except that it was the Instagram ads. But what I found out is this is essentially like a content library. Actually, here's a great analogy. I was going through this earlier. On YouTube, it's nothing but how-to videos, so-and-so how to, fix a watch, all right? And it's like 10 people and maybe one person's good. This is like that, but every person you Google how to sing, how to make an omelet, how to do this is like a TV chef, Christina Aguilera, Samuel L. Jackson teaching you how to say MFer. Literally they have all of that on there. Serena Williams teaches you tennis. I haven't done any of those. Probably won't. But it is like, ooh, I'm in good company. The ones I did that have really made me figure out kind of the appeal of this were the Ken Burns documentary, screen writing and filmmaking, the Aaron Sorkin screenwriting, and then the Neil Gaiman creative writing. And what's really interesting about these three is if you do anything creative or you're trying to get projects and stuff off the ground, this is like TED Talks on steroids. It's not a class per se. You don't get any assignments. There's not any instruction in terms of how to use a they don't tell you what cameras they use or how to use them or, how to use Final Draft or export a script. But they walk you and give kind of just a really inspirational 5 to 20 minutes on each step of their process. And what's really great about this is each one of these has been curated to a house style where they don't all look the same, but they are all the same quality, shot with the super nice cameras they shoot Marvel movies with, but it's just guy in a chair. Neil Gaiman's in this awesome looking library. There's a fire roasting in the background. And he's the art of storytelling. I can't do his voice, but everything he says just sounds so freaking profound. It's I want to watch it again. Which brings me to why I'm mentioning this. We did Disney 616 last week, and that was essentially anthology documentary. And that's really what Masterclass is. It's more documentary meets TED Talk, but done in a house style to where if you end up paying, it's $180 for a year, which I'm I don't know if I'm going to pay that to do another year of this. I wish I would have watched more of these, because outside of that, I did watch Brandon McMillan, who teaches you how to train your dog. And that was super helpful because I have a puppy. He went through 10 commands and our dog is doing 5 of them. And then
Your
I also
dog
did
watched Masterclass?
technically, yeah.
By the way, I do want to say $180 sounds like a lot, but if you do the math, that's $15 a month. That's not much more than Netflix.
Yeah. I don't know if they offer a monthly. I think it's you have to pay up front. They used to do a thing you could buy one class for $100. But now they're adding 5 or 6 classes a month. I just started Ron Howard. I'll feel really bad if I don't finish the Scorsese before it ends on Christmas. So I'm racing Santa to finish my masterclass before I have to pay for it again.
How long are
is it
these
the
in
Irishman?
general?
Is that why you can't finish it?
The what?
I said, is it the Irishman? Is that why you can't finish
It's 5 to 20 minutes on how he wrote every bit of The Irishman. So it's 6 hours
I
long.
keep falling asleep.
Yeah, how long are these,
5
Kyle?
minutes into this. Say that again.
How long are the episodes?
So each class varies, especially the stuff like I watched this guy who taught interrogation techniques and like negotiation. There's another Daniel Pink does marketing and persuasion. I've read a lot of his books, so it's kind of exciting to see that. And those are pretty short, maybe like about 10, 13-minute long sections, modules. But then something like the Aaron Sorkin one, oh my gosh, he goes into like 20 or 30 modules. Ken Burns goes into like, I think 30 plus. The Ron Howard one's pretty big.
Ken Burns runs long, you don't say.
Right.
Yeah. I will say this about the Ken Burns one. You're going through and it's like very meticulous, every piece. But like when you see how his film evolves because he's like doing the meticulous process, you're like, wow, that's like, it's really impactful. Like the stuff he does is pretty thoughtful. And if you are in the zone and, hour 15 of the Civil War and you're still watching, there's still some good stuff for you.
Is it a series, is it
Civil War Easter
a
eggs.
series of letters between him and his editors?
Yeah. He does sit down with one of his editors and you're like behind the desk and they're working on the Vietnam documentary and you get to see how just like simple cuts and stuff kind of change the title sequence.
Tom,
I thought it was pretty cool.
I've watched the latest cut. I would like you to remove the last 5 minutes from Reel 3. Ken Burns.
The hardest part of watching his is just going, the bowl cut for real, like you could do anything else besides the bowl cut. At one point, I get it. Like gymnasts were rocking it. That was the look. But no, gymnasts aren't doing that bowl cut anymore, man.
Just keeps him humble.
Yeah.
He's too busy studying baseball and jazz and the Civil War. You don't got time for haircuts.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing.
Mark.
He gives zero fucks. Like that is real quick. Like when you watch that, you get like a good take on people's personalities after a few of these classes, and it's pretty interesting. I have a feeling if you worked with any of these people in real life, you'd have to have pretty thick skin. Like you'd go from being their biggest fan to like, oh shit, I got pages for Aaron Sorkin. I need to get done by tonight. This sucks.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm like, I don't know if I can like recommend it because it's so expensive, especially if you have to pay for it all up front.
But it's like I say, it's really not. It's
just that it's a lump sum.
Yeah, but it's as far as the amount of money you're paying, it's $15 a month. It's just got to pay it, or get someone to give it to you for Christmas. It seems like the perfect way to get it.
That is the way.
Have your
this is
company
the
buy
way
it for you.
Yes.
All right.
No, we will find out in January if I renew it because I am kind of hooked.
Stay tuned. All right, so we're going to close out. We're going to catch up on Star Trek Discovery, which Grant knows a little something about.
I've seen that one. This is one of them that I actually watch weekly.
You have to, right? You have
because I do a podcast. Hey, if you guys ever want to check out our podcast, Star Trek Discovery Pod, we do weekly shows Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central. We do a live broadcast, and you can join us and you can watch us on YouTube, interact with us, chat with us while we're discussing each episode of Star Trek.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I entered into this having never watched Star Trek before Discovery.
And now you've been backfilled into a bunch of Star Trek, right?
I mean, they're starting to call me a Trekkie, and I'm not sure if I want to own that or if it's insulting.
So did you get dragged into the lower decks and all that stuff as well?
Man,
I know you
Lower Decks was awesome.
Lower Decks was great.
Picard was
It was.
awful.
I dug that.
I mean, Picard was okay. I just didn't really like Picard.
And then I know you guys started watching the movies. Did you wind up having to go back and watch any Deep Space Nine or that stuff? Have you been dragged into that yet? Okay.
I mean, they've made me watch like one episode each of those other shows. Mm-hmm. Wait, I've watched one Deep Space Nine.
Did they pick the episode, or did you just like roulette, throw a dart?
No, they picked it. It was the one where Cisco goes back in time.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I guess it was a famous episode. And then I watched one where there's Geordi and Worf refused to give blood to a Romulan who's dying, and Geordi makes buddies with a Romulan down on some planet.
Yeah. Okay,
And
that
I was
one.
like,
Yeah.
okay, those are okay episodes. They are, garbage compared to how good I think Discovery is.
Well, I think that's probably part of why you didn't like Picard, but Picard's at least half of its appeal was the nostalgia factor of Next Generation, I think.
Yeah, that one was just hokey.
And Allison
especially
Pill.
near the end.
And Alison Pill.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I like Allison Pill.
But Discovery, I think we've talked about it a couple times now. Les watched Discovery season 1 and was not into it, did not watch season 2. And then we sort of dragged him back in with season 3. She's like, no, it's really good. You should watch it. And I think, Les, I don't know if you're a true believer, but you've enjoyed this season, right?
Yeah, this season's good. I'm behind on it. I've fallen off on watching it week to week, but I'm not entirely sold on whether I need to know about the sphere enough to go back and watch season 2. But
no, the sphere is just a really smart alien, whatever
thing that merges
entity
with them.
that became like this AI system for their ship.
No, you should watch season 2 for Pike, honestly.
Oh
Yeah, that's really good chunk.
But I think season 3 of Discovery, it's like the show has finally become what it should have been from the start. I think they've got the ensemble down. They're doing the sort of blend of like exploration and action, and they've got the sort of the futurism going on with their weird technology and stuff. I am loving this season, and in fact, it was just this latest episode that was my least favorite of all the ones they've done so far.
The operatic like throwback episode.
Yeah, it was, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts were on this, Grant, because you're not an old school Trek guy. Because when they go down to the planet, and there's just a dude in a suit and a doorway, I was like, what the hell kind of hokey shit is this? This looks like Doctor Who or original Star Trek.
I mean, yeah, I thought it was a pretty playful move. I mean, overall, I thought this was a fun episode. It's outside the box of what I've come to expect, and it seemed like let's take the Mirrorverse and make it theater kids' wet dream or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're gonna have battles in the hallway and stage shows and look at our costumes. We're evil, but looking glamorous. And I was like, okay, theater kids.
All of those actors got tons to chomp on the whole episode.
Oh, sure. And the thing is, I like the Mirror Universe stuff in the first season. I think we probably went a little long on it, but I didn't really want to see it back, even though I like it well enough. Look at me wrong. I'm happy to see Captain Killy again. That's great. And the costumers just had a ton of fun doing the costumes and stuff for it. But I'm like, man, I didn't want to revisit the Mirror Universe. I like what we're doing this season. This is a diversion.
It seems like this is a two-parter means to have what's the actress's name? Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, to have her exit this show. They're doing a two-parter, I think, to have her be able to go back in time and then probably make a lateral. This is just my guess, my speculation. Have her make a lateral jump back into the Prime universe from the Mirror Universe, back at that time period, back where Pike and Spock and Ash Tyler are, so that she can lead that Section 31 show that they were talking about doing.
That's interesting, because I had kind of assumed after she met David Cronenberg's character, who is clearly I think he's got to be Section 31 in the future.
Possibly, yeah. But
I thought maybe they're going to do a future Section 31.
No. I don't think they're going to work together. He lays out the threat. I haven't seen the newest episode, but when they meet, he lays out, I think it's him. And she's the last terror. Like, it may not be him that she gets the info from, but in that episode, like, she gets info that shakes her, that like something's wrong in she's not Empress of shit anymore. And and that she needs to get back to the Mirror Universe if she cares about her shit at all. But I don't know if they're going to follow through on that. But
right, there's this. They're doing a couple different things I thought were interesting. They're having her, Georgiou, get a little bit of redemption. They're certainly exploring the mother-daughter relationship between her and Michael Burnham, and the fact that Michael Burnham already got to see her biological mother and get kind of feedback and like some direction in life from her a couple episodes back.
I dug that too. That was a great reveal.
Then kind of get a very different perspective, but also kind of this surprisingly positive reinforcement from Giorgio, although it's coming from a bitter and hostile character. I thought that was good for the Burnham character, but more importantly, what we're seeing is the positive effects that the idealism of Starfleet and a crew as idealistic as Discovery can have on the absolute worst that the mirror universe can bring in Giorgio. When Giorgio comes over there, she's felt accepted by the Discovery crew, even as she combats them, even as she sabotages them at times, or even potentially tries to kill some of them. They forgive, they embrace. This is a world that she hasn't been exposed to, or a type of people, and taking that character and then reintroducing her as the Empress back in the mirror universe, and having that play out where suddenly she's confronting these conflicting feelings of, I used to be this cutthroat badass. Have they weakened me? Or is there something to be gained from that? And like, how she's reacting with the Saru counterpart over there, how she's reacting with Burnham and ultimately not killing her, is just changing the whole trajectory of things in I think a fascinating way that speaks to what is supposed to be the greatness of Starfleet, right?
Yeah, I get that. And you say that, I hadn't thought about, but one of the things I really like about season 3 so far is the notion of like Starfleet's ideals enduring into this world where things have gone so wrong. And I was kind of wondering how the mirror universe stuff, how this Giorgio stuff stacked up with it. But that's a good point, that they're showing how the idealism of the Discovery can affect even Giorgio. I hadn't thought about that as a thematic through line. That makes me a little more sanguine about them wasting 2 episodes on the mirror universe again.
It's also kind of the idea that they go into the future and Starfleet no longer exists, or how it does exist is like hanging by a thread. And even then, we get kind of cryptic messages of how it's actually operating. We saw this a bit in Picard. I don't know how much you see this. I guess you kind of see bits and pieces of it in some of the other movies. I remember seeing like the Genesis movies or whatever, the original series movies. But what's the Federation? Is that the term?
Yeah,
the Federation who controls like Starfleet. They're not always that pure. There's a lot of corruption there and evil and problems. And there might be a little bit of that still going on in the future, especially how like other alien civilizations react when they hear about Starfleet. They seem to have a lot of them seem to have an adverse reaction, a little negative reaction to them. Like, oh, are you sure you're with Starfleet? You guys seem like good guys. So it could be cool to see that like the Discovery crew kind of helps rewrite that course, and say, no, this is what you guys had initially believed in, and we can bring you back to that kind of ideal. And there's this kind of struggling dichotomy of like what Michael Burnham's approach to that is versus Saru's, and it seems like Saru might even be a little bit more of the perhaps naive but like ideal purist.
No, I got total Walking Dead vibes when they met the new Starfleet, or the new Federation, because it's like, oh, hey, just join us, give us your ship, and it's like, wait a second, this is like whenever they would meet some new group that's like, oh, we gotta, give us all your guns, we got everything set up, and it's like, how do we know you're not eating people in the back? Like, how do we know there's not a guy in a BDSM jacket, like busting people in the head with baseball bats?
And they're deliberately playing to that.
Yeah, they are. But I think I'm glad they didn't go that direction. It does seem like Admiral Oded Fair, whatever his actual name is, Vance, is actually a reasonable person. I mean, he's a higher up at Starfleet, which means he's going to be a little bureaucratic. But he does. I thought this episode came through for him. He talks to Saru, and he's like, "Yeah, you've got to stand up for your crew, or they'll never trust you again." Like, I like seeing that it's not all about regulations. It is about sort of doing the right thing for your crew. I like that.
Right, but Randy, put on your skeptical, cynical hat on that scene. What do you think now? Do you think that it's all pure, or is he saying that as a means of, you guys take your ship and go over there while the rest of us from Starfleet deal with the chain, and you don't have to see the way in which we deal with the chain, because maybe he's about to do something that Saru wouldn't agree with.
I don't see it. I don't think so.
Full on Negan, just got the baseball bat, all of them lined up in the bridge.
I'm just saying, like his secret weapon that he's been deploying relentlessly. Suddenly, he doesn't want them when it comes to the chain, and he's like, "Nah, Saru, you go ahead and take care of that one person, Giorgio, who's
that we didn't know or care about before."
Yeah, I don't give a shit about her. And
fucking around in a different universe.
The individual plight of other Starfleet people, to the point where Burnham just breaks rules.
I'll be so disappointed if that's the way they go, because I don't want Starfleet to be corrupt.
I mean, I'm just saying it shouldn't come as a surprise if it does go that way, because it's possible that they're outlining it in that way.
I just think it'd be a mistake, because I think that the rest of the season has been about the hope of Starfleet and that kind of thing. And if the undercutting message is you can't trust anyone, that's not the Star Trek I want to be watching.
No,
I'll be real disappointed.
What if? Here's a scenario. So we get 2 seasons of this. This season ends with, they're full Negans. They're all Negans.
Oops, all
next
Negans.
Season,
oops, all Negans.
Next season, it's them in this future figuring that all out. They have to time travel before the burn, and they are responsible for making sure that Starfleet never becomes that.
No, I don't want any more time travel. No.
And Burnham's in the brig because she kills Vance as a baby.
Time crimes.
Just tie up that little neck.
Yeah, nope. I will not be happy if that's the way they go, because I've been really happy with this season. I like the new cast members. I like seeing them finally all operate as like a team, as an ensemble. I definitely don't want to reveal that Starfleet is doing evil shit. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We've only got a few episodes left, right?
Kyle has a Star Trek pizza cutter that he keeps flying across the screen here.
I mean, the nacelles are attached, though. How old is that thing?
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. That will wrap it up for us this week and for this year, really, because next 2 weeks it's just going to be best of 2020. Thank you, Grant. It's great to have back again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you.
You guys stick around for our Patreon, talk about Marvel and Star Wars with us.
Hell yeah!
So yeah, if you're a patron, you can stick around for what is probably going to be a pretty long Patreon episode, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. If you're not, consider becoming a patron. It's a great Christmas gift to yourself. And
then a masterclass, and you learn way more.
Yeah, we will advertise to you way less on Instagram. It's worth that alone.
Thank you, Les. Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Randy, so much.
Thank you to all our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. And until next week,
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.